Timothy Simpkins, now known as the Timberview shooter, apparently came from a good home, but he has now been convicted of capital murder. How did the boy from a good home end up in this situation? And what can we do to stop it from ever happening again? Before we get into the video too deeply, can we just send our sympathy out to, the victims of the Timberview shootings. The victims were 2 students and 1 teacher. And, although we're delving into what happened, we definitely don't want to, have no sympathy. Of course, we have sympathy for the victims, but we don't want this ever to happen again. So we've got to look into why this happened and how this can be prevented in the future.
Timothy came from a nice, neighborhood. He lived with his grandma. He had family support. Timothy, was allegedly a very nice, boy, and he was very kind. And he was at school, and at this school, he was apparently being bullied. Now, he was apparently being bullied because he had, nice things. He had, nice things that obviously other kids may not have necessarily had access to. And this apparently caused, a form of jealousy. And, some children took it upon themselves to allegedly, bully him. Apparently, he had been being bullied for a while at school, but nothing was actually being done about it. As you know, in a lot of bullying cases, you'll contact the school, you'll send them emails, you'll send them letters. And a lot of schools have an anti-bullying policy. But there's a lot of schools with an anti-bullying policy that don't really upkeep their own anti-bullying policy. And there's many kids that go to school every single day, worried, scared, traumatized, have, post-traumatic stress disorder from incidents that have happened at school. And it's often because the schools do not have, a good grip on bullying. They seem to struggle to be able to end bullying. They seem to struggle to be able to hold those who are bullying accountable. And he was allegedly being bullied. His family had allegedly, let the school be aware of these incidents that had occurred, and nothing was actually done, and the bullying continued. It should have been a normal school day for Timothy, but it should have been a normal school day for all the students in the school. But, it wasn't a normal school day. And the reason it wasn't going to be a normal school day is because a terrible incident was going to occur, a shooting was going to occur, and Timothy was going to be the person who pulls the trigger. It was only 9:15 a.m, so it was very early, and Timothy and another student began to get into a fight. The student he was fighting with was one of the students that he claimed had been bullying him. They got into a fight, and Timothy pulled the trigger. He let out shots, 2 students were hit, and his school teacher was also hit.
100% for you, but I am extremely hurt by what you did to me and my friends and family. Your choices on that day have completely stripped me of the ability to return to work and make a positive impact on students.
Nobody just doing their job should have to go to work and experience shooting. After the shooting, his relatives have said they are not justifying him bringing a gun to school, but, they basically said that, he was scared and he had brought the gun to protect himself because, of course, this bullying. Now, here's the thing. I don't, obviously agree with bullying. I do not think that, you should necessarily have to deprive your kids from having good things. But I think if your child is going to school and they are being bullied, and you think the cause is because they have nice things, I think you should give them less nice things, because I think you should make sure that your child is dressed and has similar things, to other students in the school. But I don't think you should necessarily make your child have so much more to create jealousy and to create envy, and especially when it's leading to something like bullying. Now, when this incident occurred, it was actually 2021. Now, Timothy, after the shooting, he escaped in his car. He had a 2018 car. He had a silver Dodge Charger. Now, I feel like, why give an 18-year-old a car that's only from 2018 and it's 2021, and he's being bullied for having all these good things? Why give him all the expensive clothes and all the expensive things to just give the bullies, more to go with? And I know some people will say once people decide to bully you, they won't stop. But actually, sometimes, if there's a particular thing they're bullying you for, and you stop having that thing, sometimes they just leave you alone. Because this is a bullying incident that has gone so far, and this bullying must have been making, Timothy's life hell if he had took the steps now of, shooting out. This bullying, this alleged bullying, must have been affecting his mental health severely. It's important that we talk about the gun. So, he had access to a gun. He was able to get this gun, and he was able to shoot his teacher and shoot other students. He had a .45 caliber gun. There is no 18-year-old that should have their hands on the gun, absolutely ever. They shouldn't have never touched a gun. I don't think 18-year-olds should be learning how to shoot. I just think 18-year-olds should not be touching a gun at all. And the fact that he was able to get this gun and he was able to shoot students and shoot at his teacher is terrible. And not only are these, victims, these 3 victims, of the shooting probably still terrified, anyone who was in that school is probably very, very scared. Imagine going back to school and knowing that, students and your teacher has been shot. How are you meant to sit in that classroom comfortably and feel like you are safe after something so terrible has happened in your school? And these shootings in school are often due to, children who are suffering with maybe like mental health issues, things that have, as bullying as he was allegedly going through. And there seems to be not enough support to, to help, these, kids before it gets so serious. Now, more needs to be done to stop, children having access to guns. There needs to be more. There needs to be, even stricter laws around it. All the guns just need to be, illegalized altogether, because the fact that, so many young people are getting guns and doing these shootings has got to stop. There has been so many deaths and so many, school shootings, and it never ends. There's no when there's not another one. And, it's alarming, it's concerning, it's scary, and it's actually unfair on, all children that have to be in school. And it's hard for, parents to send their kids to school knowing there's a chance that they could be shot. Timothy, talked about feeling threatened, bullied, pistol whipped and punched. He said he only brought the gun to school for his protection. He said he never had any intention of killing Zach Selby, who was the boy he had to fight with, who had allegedly been bullying him. He said he didn't even know the other 2 who got injured that day. He said, I understand what I did was wrong. He said it was very, very wrong. He's sorry, and he just wants another chance. He's truly sorry. Now, the teacher who was shot still has a bullet lodged in his chest. So to this day, he still has this bullet. So it's not like he can forget having a bullet in, his chest. He's always going to remember what happened that day. And to teach would be very difficult after, experiencing something like this. In court, Timothy was described as like a cold-blooded killer. I feel like, Timothy, he seems to have, just got himself into a very bad situation. I think the situation he got himself into was one where, he didn't know what to do about the bullying. And I think something, needs to be done. Some sort of program needs to be put in place. And it needs to be a program that works very fast. That when someone says they're bullied, action is automatically taken. Whether it's, removing, the child who is accused of bullying them from the school, or giving the child who is bullied a new school to go to straight away, or allowing them to, have days, at home to study while the bullying is actually sorted out. It's unreasonable to expect, people to go to a place where they are bullied. It's unreasonable to expect kids to be able to deal with this. Kids don't have the strength. There's adults who are bullied in the workplace every single day and can't take it. So for kids, at this stage in their life to be bullied, a stage in your life where you're, not confident necessarily in yourself, where, you're self-doubting, where you're stressed out over exams, maybe you don't like your body. These are all things you go through as a teenager. And if you add bullying on top of it, it's only, a matter of time before something like this would happen. Parents have got to, be on the ball. They've got to give this so much attention, because the fact that he was able to, leave the house and take a gun with him and have a gun with him, and his, his mother, his grandmother, no one in his family knew, and was able to stop this from happening to him, says a lot. It tells us that access to guns is just too easy. It's too easy for students, young people, crazy people, people with all sorts of things going on in their life. It's too easy for people to get their hands on guns. And the thing about guns is, you know, a lot of people, when something happens and they panic, they just pull the trigger and they just shoot out. It's too easy to pull a gun, and it's too much access to guns. Very much, I feel like if something doesn't change, you know, then we'll never see an end to these incidents. There needs to be a point where, you know, something is done so that, you know, young people and people who are going through bad things can't have access to guns, whether it's to, you know, commit suicide, to hurt other people, to, you know, do robberies, to intimidate people. These guns have got to go, because these guns are, you know, causing incidents like this every day. These incidents ruin people's lives. They ruin families' lives. They ruin the victims' lives. They ruin the person who done its life. They ruin everybody's lives, these incidents. So many lives are ruined, you know, unnecessarily. And this access to guns, you know, is causing a lot of, you know, sadness and pain. Luckily, you know, nobody died. And I'm not saying that the victims are not, you know, feeling pain or, you know, traumatized through what they have been through. But luckily, nobody died. Because if somebody had died, you know, it would have been so much worse. You know, he would be, you know, facing life or the death penalty. He'd be in prison for the rest of his life. You know, the victims' families would be suffering for the rest of their lives with the pain of the loss. So thank God, you know, thank goodness, you know, that, you know, nobody actually lost their life. But this incident just really should have never happened. Timothy Simpkins was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and he was given a $6,000 fine. It took the jury 8 hours to, you know, reach, you know, a verdict. The jury, you know, had directly listened to his testimony. When he gave his testimony, you know, he repeatedly told them that, you know, he was scared and he was mad, and that's why he took these actions, and it wasn't a reflection of, you know, his actual character. After Timothy has completed these 12 years in prison, I hope he's able to come out and just, you know, be a, you know, outstanding member of the, you know, the community. I hope he's able to tell his story to help others cannot make the wrong decision of, you know, bringing, you know, a weapon to school, no matter what they are actually going through.
Testify. He wanted to let everybody know what his state of mind was.
Well, first, I just want to say I'm sorry for my actions. I know they was wrong and horrible, and there's no justifying that. And I want to say I'm sorry for everyone that I hurt physically and mentally. Miss Altman, especially Mr. Pettit, his accused, and Shania McNeely. I'm truly sorry, and there's nothing I can say to justify my actions. I'm sorry.
The mother was devastated when she was in court, and this is the mum talking about what happened.
Kleenex right there if you need it. Okay. You came in? Okay. All right. Please ask your next question.
Katrina, when you say you can't protect your son, do you mean you couldn't protect him in that classroom?
Yes. I don't need nobody protecting him. Not even teachers. Because they let that boy in the classroom, but he didn't supposed to be in there because he was late. And I think she even let him in there. You saw him drop the bag. You didn't ask him what's going on. And he hurried. You saw that boy was fighting my baby. My baby never fought back. So it's not a fist fight. A fist fight when someone fights back. But my baby never did fight back. He was balled up, get stomped out, and no one helped him. And they made like my son is the monster, but that other boy, Zach, he's the monster.
No further questions.
All right. Recross.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You may be excused. Thank you for your testimony, ma'am. All right. Please call your next witness.
Once again, maybe you're approaching.
You may. We'll be in recess for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Peter Pan, that's what they call me. I promise that you never be lonely.